What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am, and today I've got a story time for y'all that I know you guys are gonna love. You guys love whenever I tell stories about people running businesses and whatnot in school, and I was checking the DMs and I saw an Instagram DM saying that this guy ran a business selling silly bands in middle school. And for those of you that don't know, way back when, silly bands were the equivalent of crack, bro. Every middle schooler was trying to get their hands on them, so I figured it would be an interesting story. And yeah, be sure to press the like button or no joke, no scam. You're gonna be broke forever, and let's get into it. Eyes like an eagle, stacking so much money you would think that it's illegal. I'm getting quiet now, laying low when you're rich, so I'm piping down. Making out, stack the bread, cause you love the sound, just on my mind. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so this story takes place back in 2013. I'm gonna call the main character in today's story Brian. Now, Brian was in middle school right around the time that silly bands really popped off. For those of you that don't know what silly bands are, they were literally rubber bands that were just in shapes, any shape you can think of, you know. Stars, kangaroos, you know, Percocet, whatever you can think of, they had a silly band in the shape of it. And for whatever reason, for about 6 months in the middle of like this year in middle school, they became the most popular thing out. People would trade for them, people would go crazy buying a ton of them. There were ones that were like considered extra rare that were hard to find, and it was a craze. And it was a little bit like fidget spinners, wherein it lasted about 6 months and then dropped off the face of the earth. But I guess for 6 months there was some dude in America that was just making bands off silly bands, which, you know, pretty ironic. But either way, this is the story. So Brian was the type of kid who liked to get his money up. You know, I think most of us are that way. I don't think there's many people that exist that are like, no, I hate the idea of making money easily. I don't feel like that's most of us. But regardless, he was the type of kid that was really into finding ways to make money. And obviously, whenever there's a stupid trend that people are really into for whatever reason, it's a quick way to make some cash. I think everybody knows that. Someone out there is like a billionaire off the 5 months fidget spinners was cool, okay? And anyways, one day Brian is kind of sitting in class minding his business, and he overhears these kids talking about trading silly bands back and forth and what they would do if they found a rare one and da-da-da-da-da. And Brian kind of is like, hey, what are you guys talking about? Trying to figure it out. Because obviously, whenever people are talking about, man, I would do anything to get my hands on blank, it's a way to make some money. And they show him these silly bands. They each had about 10 on their wrist, and they had like a bunch of different shapes and whatnot. And they were explaining to him that like for $5 you could get a pack at the gas station that had like 15 in it. And some of them were more rare than others, and da-da-da-da-da. And he asked these guys, he's like, all right, so if I got a rare one, like how much could I sell it for? And they told him that like if he managed to get his hands on like a pineapple shape or whatever, some rare shape, that he could get like $20 for it. Well, if a pack is $5, one rare is $20, you see what I'm saying? The math works out that there's money to be made there. So Brian went home and did what anyone would do in this situation and hopped on the internet and started doing some research just to try to figure out what was going on, and ended up finding out that like he could basically order a bunch of a certain shape online in bulk. You know, it wouldn't be the silly brand band or like brand, but he could get those and then obviously just act like he had opened them in a pack, had them on his wrist, and sell them to people. And when I say, like, people are like, oh, it's faking it, bro, when I say that these things were literally shaped rubber bands, I'm gonna put a picture up on screen so you can see what these things are. This was it. It was literally just a rubber band in a shape, bro. I don't know why these things were so hot, but I'm telling you, everybody for like 6 months was obsessed with these things. Anyways, he ends up ordering like a bunch of these rare ones he had heard. He gets about 15 of each rare ones and like these little lots on eBay, and he ends up spending, you know, $100-ish to get like all of these silly bands. And obviously his parents are like, okay, why did you just spend $100 on rubber bands? And he's like, yeah, whatever. Anyways, can I use my birthday money to do this? And they're like, I mean, yeah, if you really want to, sure. And imagine the confusion as a parent, bro. You walk in and your kid wants to spend $100 on like just 8 of the same rubber bands, just duplicates of them. It's pretty funny, bro. Like, I don't know what I would really do in that situation, because they don't understand what he's gonna do with it. Regardless, regardless, the vibes are just kind of off a little bit. Anyways, he gets the rubber bands and he goes to school the next day, and he walks up to some people that he sees that have their arm coated in silly bands, and he just like asks, oh, do you guys have like the rare pineapple? And they're like, no, I don't, bro. That's one of the ones I don't have. I would do anything for it. And at that point, he like opens up the front pouch of his backpack and he pulls out 3 of them, because there was 3 kids there, and he says $20 a piece and you guys can have them. So keep in mind, he had paid like $20 per lot for like 15 of each rubber band ish. So he's automatically up $40 on this thing, which ain't bad, man. That ain't bad, you know, and he's still got more to sell. And the kids obviously are hyped, you know. He was in a middle school where kids had a lot of lunch money and whatever. They pool it together and they end up buying all 3 of them. So he's got $60 in his pocket. He had spent $100 on all the rubber bands, and he still has like, you know, 70 of them left. So those kids went around telling everybody that there was this kid that had really rare silly bands. If anyone wanted to buy him, he was the perfect guy to get in touch with, da-da-da-da-da. And by the end of the day, he had literally sold out of all of the silly bands that he had brought to school, and ended up taking home, like, you know, obviously there was some that were more rare than others. Some he had to sell for like $2 a piece. Some he had to sell for, you know, to $3. But all in all, he ends up going home with like $700 in profit, bro. He also kind of realized that he had messed up something in his little empire plan. The first 3 guys had paid $20 for the pineapples, but like by the end of the day, everybody was only paying like $1 for them, because he had diluted his own supply, you know? So he decides from that point on that he's basically going to hear what the rarest silly band is, buy like 3 of them, sell them for like $50 a piece, and that's just what he's gonna do. And honestly, this is where most people mess up. By doing that, he also gets the benefit of like keeping it small, bro. Teachers are a lot less likely to notice some kids selling like 7 silly bands a week, instead of some guy, you know, that day he had sold what, like 100 of them out of his backpack. That's a lot more likely to get noticed. So whatever, he basically becomes like an exotic car dealer for silly bands, bro. People would come to him and ask him like, hey, can you get your hands on this for me? And he would like go and sure enough, deliver on it, get them what they wanted, get them what they needed. Literally became like the silly band plug on top of selling rare ones out of his backpack. And he says that he was making like $800 a week off of it, and really was flying under the radar because he wasn't selling a whole bunch of them. And you know, for a while he was living like a king, because that amount of money when you have no bills and like you can't even drive, you can't go do anything crazy, you're living like a king, bro. You're buying all the DLC in every video game. You're the god buying everything in the snack shack. And on top of that, because he had a bunch of stuff that people wanted, everybody was like super nice to him all the time, hoping that he would help them out get a rare silly band or whatever. Alright guys, I'm gonna interrupt the video for just 1 second. On the screen now is actually a PlayStation gift card. I give one of these away in every video here on this channel as a way to say thank you to everyone who's subscribed with those notifications on. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never miss another video. And if you already do that, then big thank you. You help out the channel a lot. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the video. But the only issue with anything that you're making money on that's a fad is eventually it's gonna dry up, right? And for like, yeah, 6 months he's the god of the school. He's making all this money, bro. Everybody's treating him like a god. But he started to notice that one week he wasn't able to sell the silly bands for the price that he had expected to. He had this certain silly band, it was like a scented one, and he was always able to sell those for like $40 per one. And eventually one week he finds out that like nobody's willing to buy it, and he ends up having to settle and sell it for $20. And so he sits back and he's kind of like, all right, well, before I order a bunch of silly bands, let me just take a look around. And he realizes that we're like, everybody used to be wearing silly bands, everybody in the school. It's just slowly drying up, bro. He sees a lot of empty wrists. A lot of people that used to like be buying silly bands from him every week aren't anymore. And you know, even then, some people are starting to make fun of them and call them cringe. And usually that's when the trend is ending. And a lot of people in this situation would like double down and try to cling to the business, buy a bunch more silly bands and like try to make it cool again. But this Brian kid, I guess at that point was like, I had a good run. It's been fun. I've made a lot of money off of this, but it looks like the trend is just gonna come to an end. So he just decided to stop selling silly bands right around the time that it started to just die off naturally, and just avoided being stuck with a bunch of silly bands, which honestly is more than most people can say in this situation, bro. I've seen a ton of posts of Reddit on people that were like, you know, fidget spinner sales salesmen. Like, that was their business. And now they just have warehouses full of like millions and millions and millions of units of fidget spinners that they've paid for that they just can't sell. And that would have been unfortunate to have with a bunch of silly bands, bro. Like, imagine he's going to college, he just has boxes of silly bands that he still can't sell. Honey, what do you want to do with the silly bands? I don't know, Mom. I spent $4,000 on these silly bands. I'm not too sure what to do with them. And I will say, also very smart to keep it low key, like by being an exotic silly band dealer, which might be the funniest job title of all time. Like, nobody really noticed when he was up to no good. You know what I'm saying? I will say he did end up getting busted, but not by the school. Like, you never got in trouble for it at school, but obviously when you're a kid and you're bringing home like all this money, you don't really have anywhere to put it. So he had just had like thousands of dollars, really, because he had been doing this for months, just sitting in this like spy safe in his room, like a plastic safe that you put the code into. I don't know if anyone else had those as a kid that you would play with, but like, it's not a real safe. And anyways, I guess one day while he was at school, after this had already ended, he had stopped selling the silly bands, his mom was cleaning his room and the safe had like fallen out of his closet. And when it hit the ground, because it was like a cheap plastic safe, it fell open. And obviously, when you're cleaning your like middle schooler's room and a safe falls out and there's thousands of dollars there, your first thought is usually like, oh my God, what illegal thing did my son get mixed up in? So he came home to his parents, like sitting at the table, arms crossed, looking pissed off, with this safe full of money in it. And he had to just like explain what had gone on and what he had done. And his parents honestly didn't believe him for a bit until he went on eBay and like showed them the order history. And at that point, they're just mystified that their kid had been like doing all this and they had never noticed. But the one thing that sucks is they took the money. They were like, you're too young to have all this. We're going to do something with it because you did it in an immoral way. It's against rules to sell stuff at school. You know, the parent talk, which obviously they had to do. But when you've been hustling to get money to spend on video games and then it gets taken away, you're usually not too much of a happy camper. You know what I mean? They ended up just putting it in a savings account for him to use once he turned 18. And yeah, he ended up turning 18 and using it on a car, but for a while it just sat there and lost value due to inflation, baby. Park your assets in things that are above 2.4% on the yield. Otherwise, you're just wasting money. Realistically, though, he does say it was one of the most fun times of his life, and I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm sure running a silly band business, feeling like an exotic car dealer for a bit, selling stupid rubber for massive markups of like $60 is a great time. I'm sure that was fun. But yeah, anyways, guys, I think that's gonna do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to press the like button and let me know in the comments section down below what you thought, and subscribe if you're new. If you want more content, I do have a podcast called The Scuffed Cast. You can find a link down below, or there's a lot of other story times here on the channel. And yeah, if you enjoyed the intro song, a link to that will also be in the description, along with the link to the merch. Yeah, that's right, ladies and gents, there's lots of links down there. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching the video. It is very, very appreciated. As I said, like and comment, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm out. Peace.